Hi, this is Seb from Cinema 5D, and I wanted to find out which is the best ND filter for the DJI X5 and X5R cameras used on the DJI Inspire drone and Osmo handheld gimbal. I recently tested the Inspire and compared the X3, X5 and X5R cameras, and in my opinion this drone is really an incredible machine, and especially the X5R RAW camera delivers amazing images in 4K. But one problem that I had was that on sunny days, which is 90% of drone shots of course, just closing the iris is not enough. One option is to raise the shutter speed, but then motion looks unnatural and not cinematic as seen in this shot, for example. Another option is ND filters. So I gathered all the different ND filters I could get and compared them to each other. First I compared them in the field, and then I did another comparison in our test lab. The first and most affordable filter is the Polaroid Berry ND filter. It can decrease exposure by 1 to 8 stops. I like the look of this filter. In general, I did not notice any strong infrared pollution on non-IR filters. This filter is light, and I didn't notice an ND cross pattern unless going to the far end of the ND filtration. The only problem is that this filter has no hard stops, and this is a bit less convenient to set up and to use. The B&W is another Berry ND filter. It reduces exposure by up to 5 stops. I really like this one as it feels solid, is light, has hard stops, and 5 stops is exactly the kind of ND strength that I need personally. The Heliopan Berry ND is the most expensive in the series. It also feels like the most professional product, but that comes at the expense of weight. So despite offering a clean image, it was too heavy for the X5 gimbal, so it is not recommended. I also wanted to try an infrared cut filter, because on some sensors heavy ND filtration leads to infrared pollution. The Tiffin XLE ND filter has an IR cut built in, but I could only find it available with 10 stops of exposure reduction. On one hand, this is too much even for a sunny day. On the other hand, it turns your image green to counter the magenta shift. You could correct this in post-production, and people do that, but as you can see here, the results were not 100% neutral, so this option is not for me. The same is true for the professional version of the XLE filter. This Tiffin Hot Mirror IR&D also cuts the light by 10 stops, and the results are green. If you really need an infrared cut filter, this is probably an option, though I must admit I did not see any significant infrared pollution on the other filters in my tests either. I tried another filter in our test lab. This is a 5-stop reduction with the Format High-Tech Firecrest ND filter. According to the manufacturer, this has a certain amount of infrared cutting built in, so this is probably your best bet if you want to make sure. The image turned out very clean, and I actually liked the slight color shift towards blue. The other filters always turn the image orange. Here's the Polaroid Berry ND in comparison with a more orange color, set to about half ND filtration, though it is hard to set the Polaroid accurately. The B&W filter has a similar look as the Polaroid, and set to half or to maximum, it looks quite identical and quite nice. The Heliopan has a slightly more neutral look than the B&W in terms of color, but funny enough, it seemed like there was a slight cross pattern at the edges when using the maximum ND filtration, so the B&W looked more accurate there. The test lab lighting was too weak to test the 10-stop Tiffin NDs, but I noticed that the intermediate version is about 1.5 stops stronger than the Hot Mirror. In terms of filter weight, it is important to keep in mind that you need the correct add-on rings in order to keep the gimbal steady and not to stress the motors too much. You can find recommendations for those add-on rings and weights of all the filters in my article on Cinema 5D related to this video. So that was it. This test, of course, is in no way complete. There are many more filters, or completely scientifically accurate for that matter, but it gave me a good enough idea about how different filters perform, how they compare, which things to keep in mind, and what I will need on my next shoots, and I hope it was helpful for you as well. This is Seb from Cinema 5D, and I see you in the next one.